In this example, we have a couple different transformations happening. Let's start by looking at the parent function 1 over x, the reciprocal function, and we can plot some values that we know. We'll go from -1 to +1. When we plug in -1, we get -1. When we plug in 0, the function is undefined, and when we plug in 1, we get 1. So our reciprocal function looks something like this. Recognize that we have some asymptotes there. There's an asymptote at x equals 0. And there's also an asymptote at y equals 0 here. Then moving on to the transformed graph, y equals 1 over x plus 1 minus 2. There's a few things we want to note about what's happening. First of all, notice that -2 is on the outside. That's going to affect the graph vertically in a logical way. So it's actually going to take this parent function and shift it down 2 units. So that's affecting the y values in a logical way. -2, we're going to subtract 2 on all of the y values. The +1 is inside the function. Notice it's beside the x. That's affecting the graph horizontally in a backwards or illogical way. It looks like we're adding 1, but we're actually going to subtract 1 on the x's. And what that's going to do physically to the graph is shift it to the left 1 unit. So again, the -2 is logical. It's affecting the y values in a logical way. So we're going to subtract 2 on each of the y values. So we get a -3 and a -1. This part's still going to be undefined. And then the x values, we're subtracting 1 on the x's. So the x's become -2, -1, and 0. So we have -2, -3. We have 0, -1. And then our asymptotes are occurring at y equals -2 and at x equals -1. Again, comparing the black graph and the red graph, notice the black, to get to the red, we shift it down 2 units and then move to the left 1 unit. For this graph, again, we have 2 different transformations. We'll start with the parent function y equals the square root of x and list some familiar points there. We have 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, and 9, 3. Plotting those points and sketching that graph, we have the square root of x. On the right, we're looking at g of x equals the square root of x minus 4 plus 2. So first of all, notice that 2 is on the outside of the function. That means it's affecting the graph vertically or affecting the y values in a logical way. We're going to add 2 to each of the y values in the parent function. -4 is inside beside the x. When it's inside the function, think of that as affecting the x values in a backwards way. So x values, we're going to do the opposite. We're actually going to add 4 to the x's. The y values make sense. We're going to add 2 to the y values. So again, on the x's, we're going to add 4 to each of the x values. And on the y values, we will add 2. So we have 4, 2, 5, 3, and then 8, 4. And notice what's happened. This black graph has been shifted up 2 units and right 4. Up 2, right 4.